Hi GenderqueerChat, this is Matt and I'm the new Tuesdays person on the channel. I'm not actually sure what the topic is this week. That wasn't posted out to me at the time of recording this video, but Chris was nice enough to send me a list of previous topics stretching way back to like the earliest weeks of GenderqueerChat, and basically just asked me to choose one of those and talk about that. So I'm not sure what the people after me will do this week, but I'm going to be talking about a slightly different topic, so we'll consider that my intro video or something like that. The topic that I was looking at was way back from week 9, if you're around to watch the videos back at that stage, or you can always go back and have a look at what the previous GenderqueerChat people had talked about. But yeah, week 9 was coming out as genderqueer and being out. How does it look? Are we out as genderqueer? Do we find a need to be out as genderqueer? I find this topic really interesting for me personally, as it's something I've been, I guess, thinking about in recent times, and also from the perspective of being someone who doesn't necessarily present genderqueer or present in a way other than what people would assume given my assigned gender at birth or sex. So it's a little bit different. I think for me personally, that makes it all the more important to want to come out and to want to be out as genderqueer. It's an important part of my identity. It's something that I feel very strongly about, and it's something that does affect me on a daily basis, just through the way that I maybe feel misrepresented or put into a box where I don't particularly feel like I belong. For me it's not so much about physical dysphoria, it's not so much about body, but what comes along with having this body is that people are going to assume that I am a certain way, that I'm male, that I have male characteristics and do stereotypically male things. I know that's ridiculous, and there's so much diversity in different people. People have different interests and, you know, feel things in a different way and think things in a different way, and different things are important to them. But unfortunately it's all too easy to be put in that box, and that's not something that I feel comfortable with. I guess if I had to define my genderqueer in the most simple way possible, I would say that it's an absence of feeling male. I went for a long stage where I assumed that if I didn't feel male, then that must mean that I'm female. And it was a long process of thinking through that, working out what that actually meant, which of course brought into the idea of how I present. I was thinking, well, if I'm female, how can I present like this? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But I think through the course of thinking about my gender myself and investigating that and sorting it out, and through that process coming to define as genderqueer rather than maybe strictly transgender or seeing myself as more female, I kind of became more comfortable with genderqueer, whether you see that as a mix of both male and female or an absence of both male and female. But for me personally, it's very much an absence of not feeling male, even though I do acknowledge my male attributes and things, but I guess I would prefer not to have to, and that's where it becomes a problem with other people, because people will assume because I present the way I do that I'm male, and therefore they will sometimes judge me in a stereotypically male way. It hasn't been a huge problem, to be honest, in my life. I'm not really sure why. I think people may have just accepted me as for who I am, so I've been pretty lucky. But it seems to be something that I'm more concerned with now, and I'm not sure if that's because I'm thinking about my gender identity a lot more, or if, I don't know, maybe it's something to do with my work environment or whatever. I have no idea. Anyway, I'm going way off topic. That was just like a ramble deluxe. So yeah, it's important to come out for me because it's an important part of my identity, as I said, and I want to share that. I want to all the process that's been going on in my brain about how I feel about myself and how I feel about gender. and queer issues in general. That's something that I want to be able to share with other people. So it is important for me to come out. I don't want to... Start again. Yeah, for that reason it is important for me to come out. The way that I come out to people, I guess, has been pretty subtle at first. Mainly it's through talking to people, the people that I feel closest with. I'm lucky to have a housemate that I riff off all the time, so she's been there since the very, well, not the very beginning, but certainly since I've been thinking about it more intensely and in more defined terms. She's been there, and like I've been able to talk to her and just verbal vomit, mind vomit, whatever in my mind, and she's really accepting and hasn't necessarily challenged it, but has accepted it and listened, and that's been really helpful. I have another few friends as well who I feel quite comfortable talking about those sort of issues with. I now have a couple of people as well who understand things more to do with sort of gender identity and more queer issues, so it's great to talk to them. Also a girlfriend that I've been with for a few weeks. She's really important for a lot of reasons, but one of those reasons is she's one of the first people that I've come across who hasn't known me before I started to think and talk about this stuff. So it's really special the way she's accepted me, and yeah, I think in some ways she actually likes me for all the complexities of gender and stuff that's going on in my head, so that's fantastic. So definitely talking to people. Having said that about my housemate, I also have another housemate who I'm not out to, so yeah, I've never had that conversation with her. I'm guessing she's probably picked up on some things that have been said, or I might have been reading a book about gender-related issues, so I'm sure something sparked and she's thought what's going on there. But generally, no, I've only come out to the one housemate. And I don't feel the need to come out to every friend. Work colleagues is another thing as well. I recently started, or about 6 months ago, started a new job. And I found it very, very difficult at first. The reason being is because when I turned up there, the group who I was training with, who are now my permanent team at work, 13 people, 12 of them being female-bodied and presumably female-identifying people. So I thought this was going to be a problem the day I walked in there. I fully expected somebody to walk in and say, hey, you're the rose between two thorns, or make my gender an issue, you know, picking me out as I was the odd one out, I guess. And I knew that was going to affect me because I was thinking a lot about this stuff. I had just got myself in a situation where I did feel comfortable talking about it with certain friends, and my previous workplace I had a few people who I was out to, and that was really, I felt really comfortable. So I was a little bit concerned in this new job that was going to happen, and it did happen. It was stated just about every day by every single person that came into that room. And I work for a government department, so it has to be the most PC, non-discriminatory place in the world, but somehow gender doesn't come into that, at least not gender in the sense of gender that you can't see. Yeah, so it was really tough for the first few weeks of having to deal with that. I think I became more resilient to it, and in some ways it might have been essential for helping, I guess, my genderqueer identity become more solid. I did toy with the idea of telling my workmates. It's something I didn't end up doing, and I think some of them may know, just because they're friends with me on Facebook and stuff, and I often post links or make comments that can be a little bit out there in terms of defying gender norms. So no doubt people have picked up, and what they think about that I'm not really sure. Yeah, but definitely coming out to people, that's the way I do it, through talking with them, talking about gender, obviously letting them know how I feel. The other way that I've chosen to come out is by attending transgender support and discussion group in my town, which is really good. As I said in my audition video, I live in Tasmania, which is the state of Australia, and while we have a pretty big queer community, as far as I can see, there's not a great deal of support or queer things out there, just because it's a small town, although for a small town it probably does have quite a bit, so I'm not judging. But yeah, I do attend trans meetings, really interesting. I've been doing those for about 6 months, and I found it really helpful to be amongst other people who are dealing with gender issues. I do find it difficult because the majority of the people who go there probably identify more in a traditionally transgender, transsexual way. So their stories are slightly different. They're more concerned about different things, and I guess I've held back quite a bit because I didn't want to use language or start talking about things that other people didn't want to start using language like genderqueer or talk about gender binaries or feeling somewhere in between, unless that was unless somebody had told me that was okay. So I was waiting for somebody else to use that language. It's still been really helpful, but then a few months ago it actually came up, and since then the person who runs or facilitates the group has been really proactive about furthering discussion about sort of non-binary trans issues, about genderqueer things. So the language is out there now, and other people seem really interested in it, and that's really good because it gives me a place to talk and makes me feel like I can share my experiences more. They're also thinking about maybe changing the name of the group to make it more accommodating of genderqueer or gender variant or other identified people, and that's fantastic. So that's something we're working on now. But yeah, so to sum up, coming out's important because it's not something that I necessarily express externally. People aren't going to guess, but it's important to me, so I feel like I need to talk about it. I'm really lucky that I have friends, and family is another issue. We won't go there on this particular occasion, but friends and, lesser extent, work colleagues and housemates, and a place that I can go where I can go out and say, hey, I'm genderqueer, this is what it means to me. I'm not asking you to treat me any different, but just putting it out there, and I don't know, people can run with that how they wish. But yeah, that's it for me. Sorry if that was a bit of a insane ramble. I'm not even sure how long has this gone for. I'm actually home in my lunch break, so I'm just quickly rushing through this so I can post it and so it will appear on Tuesday. But yeah, I'll speak to you next week and hopefully be more well on topic. See ya.